Mauri ora ki te whare. Kia ora koutou, ko waio. E tupu aki o e te tāwharo porongia maunga i te taha o te awa taniwha o Waikato. Ko paikakariki te wahi e te paina nei ko tōku kāinga, kei reira tōku ngākau. Engare, kei o tautahia hau e noho ana i tēnei wā. Ko Ngāti Tiriti te iwi, ko Megan Salol tōku ingoa. Kia ora, Massey, College of Creative Arts. Ngā mihi nui for hosting this interesting conversation. Now, I've mostly designed and conferred my own job titles. Don't worry if none of the terms I'm about to say make any sense. Founder of the Hope Dispatch, the home of hope on the internet. Parker for People, the AI political conversationalist. Good big picture thinker, visual futurist. League of Live Illustrators, Action Station co-founder. Wellington International Ukulele Orchestra entertainer, Green Party National Campaign Manager, social entrepreneur, co-founder of Intersect, design director, web designer. My career is essentially a pile of spaghetti that makes no sense to anyone peering in. Essentially, I've just been in hot pursuit of joy, connection, working with awesome people and creating impact. I'm always trying to find ways to get paid to learn and to do what I care about the most. Massey's visual communication design degree was the last of my formal education, and I loved it because it allowed me to turn my deep dissatisfaction with the world into questions. And from there, I would play and design solutions. The world of design was simply too small to answer my most gnarly questions. So I bust out of the container because it's a construct anyway, and I went rogue. I just let my questions carry me forward. In the lead up to this talk, I self conferred an honorary degree, Professor of Questions. I pride myself in the ability to ask good questions, and I think the questions we ask of ourselves and the world determine the quality of the lives that we live. So, as honorary Professor of Questions, I don't bring you many answers today, I bring my provocations. So, here's the first provocation. What does it take for something tired and grey to come alive again? When I first moved to Wellington, the city was quiet, a ghost town on a Sunday afternoon with pigeons as my only companions. But in just a few years, we witnessed and participated in its flourishing. Suddenly, it was a walkable, biodiverse, caffeinated, buzzing city of creativity. That transformation, the feeling of something new unlocking, is exactly how AI feels to me today. The internet in the 90s gave us connection, creativity, and a lot of consumption. AI carries the same charge, but the stakes are higher. We know so much more. Back then, we had the luxury of agonizing over kerning. Today, the stakes are democracy, climate, justice, a livable planet, the whole shebang. So the question becomes, can we use AI to support us to where we genuinely need to be at this time? Not just to create more, but to amplify the good and help us get out of our tangles. That leads to my second provocation. What age are we really living in? Wellington itself is in an identity crisis, and I say, good. Adolescence is over. Creative capital was our teenage years, giddy, reckless, full of pleasure. I remember. Now we are older, wiser. Our city has a warm heart and a hangover from decades of deferred maintenance. Globally, with AI, I believe we're stepping from the age of me into the age of we. The old stories were about the individual, me, my potential, my career. But that was always an illusion. We are not individuals. We are colonies, bundles of processes, overlapping ecologies of genes, neurons, bacteria, and stories. Noah Yuval Harari says, you don't have one self, you have a noisy parliament of selves who debate and compete on every thought and action. And then multiply that by all of us. So the provocation is, if we are multitudes, how do we live, create, and decide as multitudes? That brings me to the third provocation. What is the skill that matters most now? Here's my answer: conscious awareness, the ability to pause, because living now means holding a lot: complicity, climate entanglements, ethical knots. Curiosity is wonderful, and I say that as a professor of questions, but there is something even more powerful: intentionality. Intentionality is the creative brief on steroids. It is our ability to pause, focus, and act with clarity and prompt with clarity. If tech giants are dragging our attention around like puppies on a leash, then intentionality is us taking that leash back. In this moment, quietly ask yourself, what dormant power am I here to unlock in us? What unique contribution do I make to the whole? The answer that arrives is what working with intentionality feels like. And that, I would argue, is how we need to design in these times, charged personally and professionally with that level of intentionality. So, my next provocation: what matters more than being right? As kids, when my brothers and I fought, which was a lot, my mother made us sit around the kitchen table and draw a teapot. Each picture we created looked completely different from each other. A spout on the left, a spout on the front, no spout. She would hold them up and say, "What's this? I asked you to draw the teapot." My mother was an educational genius. She taught a handful of tiny, annoying children the value of our shared perspectives and how, when we blend those perspectives, we get to see something vastly richer and more dimensional. She taught me there is no right. That's the work of multitudes. Multitudes don't have to be right. Being right is the wrong question. And I think it is important for designers to grasp this. We've always had a whiff of superiority about us. Designer is servant. And what matters most to design is process. Who's in the room? Whose voices count? What values guide us? What wisdom slows us down when everything else screams, "Go faster"? Another provocation. Is there any reason to be optimistic? Well, for me, yes, but not because I think it will go smoothly. I'm optimistic because this is the most exciting paradigm shift humans have ever lived through. And the real paradigm shift is not the tech, it's us. AI is a mirror of our intelligence trending towards interconnectedness. We're all cells. Someone is the eye cell, someone is the ear cell, someone is the toe, someone is the middle finger, and yes, someone is the dick. And I'll let you choose who. But together, we are one body learning to see its own elegance. We finally have tools that let us hold vastness and complexity without collapsing under it. But we must rebalance because AI is mostly trained on pale, male, stale thinking, and that monoculture delivered us into a polycrisis. The potency comes when we fuel it with the voices that were left out: Indigenous, women, mothers, disabled, introverts, elders, the silenced. That is when our collective intelligence multiplies. Design at its best isn't about shiny objects. It's about processes, not products, but patterns, not outcomes, but the way we arrive there together. The jobs we will end up doing haven't even been invented yet. When I started my education with Massey, it wasn't even called that yet, and there was no such thing as the web. My job was being one of the first web designers in the country. You too will get the chance to make up your own job titles. We are scared of the change AI will bring. This is natural. We are going to lose some jobs. Some will pivot. Some poor folk will end up prompting all day long. But I want us to be ambitious for ourselves. If we don't need to sit at our desks in betweening frames or pushing pixels around or doing multiple mock-ups, what will human beings be doing? Can we return to more being than doing? We need to move our design thinking to the intersection of adding human value, solving problems, and bringing joy. What will we do with our newfound capacity? What would it be like to announce this as the beginning of the solutions economy, where we channel every bit of creativity, wonder, and passion towards solving the greatest problems of our times as multitudes? What would it mean if the work that needed doing wasn't sitting for hours at a screen coding, but sitting together at a local marae, drinking tea, singing waiata, designing the infrastructure and assets that just support an impact hub, or your version of that? So, here is the last provocation I leave you with. What if we treated this time as the most intentional moment in history? What if we leveraged our newfound collective intelligence not to optimize advertising and glue eyeballs to screens, but to flourish together on this blue-green gem we share? As a professor of questions, I ask that we ask better questions, that we write better prompts. When you leave this room, don't just ask, ooh, what can I make with this shiny technology? Perhaps ask instead, what processes can I unleash that let our multitudes create a future worth living in and handing on? Ngā mihi nui kia koutou. Thank you for listening. Over and out.